Hey everybody, this is Trevor, and you're watching my channel, Social Dilemma. Thank you for coming today. And today I want to talk about Bill Maher. You know him as the host of his show on HBO, Real Time, and I remember him from his show back in the 90s, Politically Incorrect. And I've been watching Bill, following his career for at least 25 years. And as someone who I consider myself, there's things about me that are liberal. There's things about me that are conservative. And there are some conservatives who rail against him. I don't know if it's warranted necessarily, but Bill is definitely a hardcore liberal. And this is the reason why I admire him, because I started watching his show in the 90s, and I do think that Bill Maher is a defender of freedom of speech. So if you looked at the Constitution, that First Amendment, I've always felt in my head, my heart, my whole being that Bill Maher is someone I admire because of his take on freedom of speech. Now, there are things about Bill Maher. I always thought he was anti-gun, and I don't, when he comes out and he says, he's on the board of directors for PETA, or he talks about his green energy take on that. It kind of makes me cringy. Some of the things he talks about, the liberal things. He might as well come out and say he's an Amway salesman when he talks about those things. But everybody's got the cringy side that I'm sure there's things I talk about that people don't like, and that's fine. That's fine. So because I am an advocate for freedom of speech, I think that we all have the ability to say what we want. There are repercussions to that, and that's fine. But I've always admired Bill Maher for his take on freedom of speech, and I was always disappointed. In the beginning of the turn of the century, he was canceled, and he was canceled by conservatives. And I was always disappointed by that. Again, I'm not a hardcore liberal, not a hardcore conservative. I am above. I feel like I'm a libertarian, voluntarist. I like to embrace the best of both the liberal and conservative world, and get my own take on that. But yeah, so he was shut down, and I thought, wow, that's an attack on freedom of speech. So what I want to get to is, I just found out yesterday watching his show Club Random, and he had a guest on, comedian, I believe it was Jeff Ross, and Bill said something during the show that I just about spit my coffee and fell off the couch watching. He said to this comedian, a friend of his, that he owns a firearm. I was like, what? If you're hearing this for the first time too, especially if you are on the conservative side, or you're liberal and you're shocked, oh my God, Bill Maher, he owns a firearm, yes, and he says that it's in his bedroom, it's in obviously his house, and it's for self-defense. I was just, I always admired Bill Maher for his freedom of speech. And he has an advocate for freedom of speech. And to find out that Bill Maher is a firearms owner, it blew me away. It put a whole new level of respect that I had for him. It just put it up. Because I am an advocate for every human on this earth, not just for the Americans, but I do love the Second Amendment. The right to bear arms. I feel that every human on this earth has the right to self-preservation. Okay, and I feel like, I love, though, the First Amendment. The freedom of speech is the cornerstone of a civilized society, and that is backed up by the Second Amendment. Okay? So, yeah, to hear Bill Maher owns a firearm, then he went on talking about, he said, he doesn't own an AR-15, but he did understand how that would be an excellent weapon, too, to defend your home. And I thought, wow, just amazing. Now, I'm sure he hasn't changed his stance on hunting. Obviously, he's a board member of PETA, so he's, I'm sure, still anti-hunting and whatnot. But to hear that Bill Maher has at least one firearm, he wouldn't tell his buddy, on his show Club Random what kind of firearm he owns. But for me, I don't care. I don't care if it's a Marlin 357 lever action with a 16-inch barrel. Like, he's got something to protect himself. So he does believe, to some degree, in the Second Amendment. He believes that people have the right to self-preservation, the right to bear arms. And this is like a revelation to me, to hear him say that. I don't know if he said it before. I mean, I follow Bill Maher enough that I've never heard him say that. I've never heard him say that. I just always thought he was anti-gun ownership. So to hear this is a revelation to me, that Bill Maher owns a firearm for self-defense if someone were to break into his home. And, I mean, if he feels that strongly about it, he must feel that, you know, the citizens of America, and I'm sure maybe even the citizens around the world, have the right to self-preservation. And how do we do that? Well, to own a firearm. So I'm very impressed, Mr. Maher. Very impressed. I've always had a level of respect for him. And just to hear that he owns a firearm for self-defense just put that whole level of respect to a new level. And I think that if you are a liberal in the United States, a Democrat, or, you know, anywhere in the world, I would actually point to Bill Maher as someone that you should be aspiring to. Okay, now, I like Bill Maher, how he rails against the woke crowd. And, you know, I do. You know, and that seems to be part of the liberal mantra right now, is wokeism. And Bill Maher is completely opposed to that. So to find out that, yes, he's obviously, I admire him for his freedom of speech, how he supports that, and he obviously supports the Second Amendment to some degree. And I believe that if you are a liberal, look to Bill Maher. Look to Bill Maher as an inspiration for, I almost look at him as like a classical liberal. He's, you know, he rails against, like he went on about how he wanted to have solar panels in his house, and he went on about government regulation and whatnot. So I bet you, you know, pick Bill Maher's brain a bit more on regulation and taxes. He's definitely a classical liberal. And I just kudos out to Mr. Maher. Obviously, there's things about him. I'm sure if you're conservative watching this, you might be going, Trevor, you're an idiot. He's this and that. Yes, I know there are things about Bill Maher. Okay, I just heard him again this morning talk about, you know, he's on the board of members for PETA, and, you know, I know he's a big supporter of green energy, and those are, I don't know, whatever. I mean, I support, obviously, like, animals need to be treated ethically. If you're a hunter, you know, you're a family that owns a pet, treat them with respect and kindness. I just think PETA takes it to a whole new level. It kind of makes me feel like someone's, you know, they might as well just say they're an Amway salesman. So, but definitely, so there are things about Bill Maher that if I was on his show, I'd love to talk to him about. I think that we're pretty close on a lot of subjects, but definitely, I always thought if I was on his show, I'd have to debate him on the Second Amendment, but I don't think we would probably talk about the hunting aspect of it. But just to hear that he owns a firearm for self-defense just brings a whole new level of respect. And if you are a conservative, I think that you should, you know, if you're going to talk to a liberal, like, promote Bill Maher as someone to look to, as if you know you are a liberal, look to him as I don't know, I don't want to say guru or something, but I certainly would listen to him if you are a liberal. And, you know, you're a conservative too. I mean, cut him a break there. That's a huge thing for a Democrat, liberal, to say that they own a firearm for self-defense. It's amazing. So, I guess that's my take on Bill Maher. I don't want, I hope that, I don't know, you know what, conservatives, liberals, I confuse you both. You know, come out and support Bill Maher, and then I'll say something just that it just I know I can be a bit of an enigma sometimes, but yeah, today I hope that if you are a conservative, cut Bill Maher a bit of a break, because I just found out yesterday that he does own a firearm for self-defense, and I think that's great. And if you are a liberal, you too should support that as well. I mean, the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, and yeah, whole new respect for Mr. Maher. I've been following his career for 25 years, and I've always admired him. And there's things about him obviously I don't like, but yeah. So there's my take on Bill Maher this morning. A whole new level of respect. He is a firearms owner. Okay, have a good day, everybody, and stay free. Okay, take care.